Welcome back to Gulfstream Park. We're just 2 days away now from the Clasico del Caribe, the Caribbean Classic being held for the first time in the United States. Yesterday, the post positions were drawn, and Ray, we learned earlier this year how important post positions can be at this racetrack, at this distance of 1.1 miles. California Chrome showed us what happened when you get stranded too wide.
Yeah, it's no secret at Gulfstream Park you do not want to be on the outside, and unfortunately for a couple of the leading contenders for the Clasico del Caribe, at least in my mind, they drew posts 11 and 12.
Well, one of them is Fray Angelico from Panama. We talked to his trainer, we affectionately called Droopy, earlier this week, and we asked him after the post position draw, and he wasn't that worried. But he said the only thing he told jockey Luis Saez is, don't get caught wide on the turn. Isn't that like saying if you're going out in the rain, don't get wet? Yeah,
a little bit. Now, Luis Saez just got here and he's riding well. Droopy said his horse can go to the front or he can come from off the pace. Luis is going to have to make a quick decision how this race is going to set up for him, because that first turn comes right after the break.
Well, you know, the post positions, or the morning line rather, was made before the post position draw. We talked to linesmaker Jay Stone about how in the world you come up with a line that's somewhat accurate when you have horses coming from several different countries that have never raced here before.
My problem might be that I have some horses at 15 and 20 that might be 6 or 8, and I have some at 15 or 20 that might be 50, which we didn't want to go much higher than 20 to 1. So that was, you know, the complexities, but we don't have any real idea how these horses are going to handle this track.
Well, El Cubito was installed a 3-to-1 morning line favorite by Jay Stone, but then he reminded us that the morning line is an exercise in trying to predict how the public will bet, not necessarily who the morning line maker thinks will win. So, having said that, we don't know who he likes, but we know that he thinks El Cubito will be the favorite.
Yeah, and he's scratching his head a little bit about the Clasico. However, one thing he's sure of is that this card is an excellent betting card, top to bottom. The 2-year-old races that take place before the Caribbean races, and those races should offer some great betting opportunities as well, so make sure you get in on the action. Ray, we've had a little bit of a struggle with some of the names of the horses this week. Maybe we need some language help.
Yeah, I struggle with Spanish for sure. Yeah, Claudio Spadaro, who's part of the Spanish language team here at Gulfstream Park, was very nice to help us with some of the pronunciations, as was Fausto Gutierrez, a leading trainer in Mexico who's got a large string of horses here for the Clasico and the supporting races. Huitlacoche.
Ah, Huitlacoche. Huitlacoche.
Huitlacoche.
But that is even difficult for Spanish speakers. In Venezuela, doesn't mean anything, but maybe in Mexico it means something.
Huitlacoche, this is a food for the corn. It's something to eat near to the corn, and to you eat like in tacos out of Mexico. Huitlacoche.
How about this horse, this filly named Joyme?
I really think that they try to put the word joy and me together, and they make a name of like Joyme, but it's exactly like joy in English and me in English. They just make up a name.
So I pronounced that one right?
Yeah.
Jala Jala.
That one will be Hala Hala, because we said that also when we laugh, we write it as ha ha ha. And every like American person just read ja ja ja. What does that mean? But it's hala hala.
Justiciero is like justice, the person to make the justice, justiciero.
So everybody has
Superman is a justiciero.
Okay. There's 3 fillies in the race. One of them is La de Horacio.
With me, La de Horacio means Horacio is a man's name, so it will be Horacio's girl. La de Horacio.
It's a combination between Spanish and Johnny, this is the name, no? But ElTio, the Uncle Johnny, no? ElTio Johnny.
And he's by
Uncle Mo.
Well, there you go, Ray, your first language lesson. ElTio means uncle. He's by Uncle Mo, therefore you have Uncle Johnny. He's actually racing in the very interesting international race here, where All of the horses were bred outside of the Caribbean, mainly in the United States, but they've been racing in the Caribbean countries.
That's right. And ElTio Johnny, I learned to say it right, was a $200,000 Keeneland November weanling, so I know they think very highly of this colt. And he's ridden by Javier Castellano, and he's just, you know, a great example of the many jockeys, trainers, and owners that come from Latin America and have a very major influence on racing here in the States.
And I think it's fitting that this event is finally being held in the United States so Americans can see firsthand how big that influence actually is.
That's right, and to the benefit of all the participants, there's no home field advantage. It's a neutral field. Gulfstream Park is, you know, none of these horses have raced here before, so they're all on the same level playing field.
All right, that's going to do it for today's News Minute. We'll talk to you tomorrow on the Friday show.